Okay, welcome back to another edition of my unboxing videos, which again, I'm lately doing a bunch about stereo components and whatnot. This one here is going to be about the KISL signal cable by Kicker. It's a 2-channel speaker wire to RCA adapter. This is 16 gauge OFC speaker wire to 2-channel RCA interconnect. Connect OEM speaker wires to amplifiers that support speaker level input. No line out converter needed. 100% copper wire, full AWG. So if you've, again, followed along with me before, you will know that I'm always asking, how come all the component places or whatever are sending out really small speaker wires, etc. And here we have a perfect example of an AV input, speaker level input, that is 16 gauge. Again, and this is actually the manufacturer too. The same Kicker manufacturer uses for their, like this amp that I got, this 150 watt hideaway Kicker amp, is using, well, actually that amp is built in, so it's probably not wired in the same way, but the Rockford Fosgate, let's just use that component system as an example. They have 20 gauge wires running for their speakers. I don't get it, but anyway, let's not try to understand the manufacturers, okay? Alright, so let's unbox this baby. As you can see here, it's all sealed. I had to cut that seal open. Alrighty. Going to open this up for the first time. And open it out. Here we go. Looking down inside there. Wow, pretty fancy packaging for, they've got these plastic Kicker labels here on both sides. And pretty fancy box. Alright, let's see, what do we got here? So, we got some RCA style female to female adapters, which I don't think in my case I'm going to need. I also like how, okay, I like that. I like how one of them is blue and one of them is gray. So it's kind of color coded. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see it designated left or right or front or back, but I guess that's up to you to decide as you hook it up, right? And let's take the wire out of this plastic. It looks like this thing is made for other things, obviously. It's got a whole bunch of places for more things than what we actually have here. It's actually wire tied in here, so that's interesting, I guess, because I mean, I don't know. It's got like molded channels. Why would you need the wire? Whatever, I guess. Just do what you do, I guess. Kicker. Alright. Push that through there. Push that through there. Get this thing out of here. Here we go. Alright. And yeah, this is definitely a 16 gauge wire. Alright. So here's your RCA inputs, outputs, whatever you want to, plug them into. Okay. And then you convert them to the the audio speaker level by using these right here. So as an example, I'll grab, so this is my old booster equalizer right here. This is years, dude, this is old school stuff here. Okay, now back then most everything was speaker outputs and inputs and stuff. Most everything. This was actually like ahead of its time because, as you can see right here, it actually has a line in, a low. I guess you would call this a low pass. As I recall, they used to call this low pass, and then these would be, the speakers would be called high pass. Or actually, not, I'm sorry, these are the speaker outputs. This. Yeah, so this was the right side in. In other words, going into this unit processes it, boosts it, amplifies it, and then sends it out to the speakers via the speaker harness. I just said speaker. Boy, I'm New York now, huh? All right, so yeah, New Yorkers are probably mad at me right now, because your accent doesn't work. Whatever. All right, so here's the low. Yeah, that's right. Low. Yep. Low in. So low pass, high pass. But this again was kind of ahead of its time, and it had one single low pass input, so I could actually plug in my head unit, or maybe another, just any kind of audio source into here. It would go inside here and come back out to the speakers through the speaker wires. Okay. The other alternative, of course, was to go with the high pass input, which came out of your, for example, this happens to be for my Pioneer 522. You would take one of these, you plug this in the back of the unit, and you take the right and left or whatever, positive and negative, and you put it on the, so if you found a left positive negative, you would put it on the left positive negative input into this thing, and then it would go out to those speaker wires. Okay? All right, so, and I don't even know why I'm explaining to you, because most of y'all are probably here for this. You just want to see what this is. At this point, you probably have left. I don't care, but for those who might want a little bit of an education, and you might want to see a really cool old school majestic MEB 700FC. I don't know what that means, but this is the booster equalizer. You got a little bit of things here that just bounce up and down, and you can do all you can adjust some things, and it's really a cool deal. It really is. It's retro. It's old. It works. It's awesome. I'm going to reuse it. But when you have a head unit, a radio that you want to turn into the low pass input. So for example, let's say I got this thing right here, or any kind of amplifier, and I've got a radio, and all it has, the radio, let's just get the radio here. Here's the radio unit right here, right? This is the head unit. I'm missing the face cover, but here it is right here. You got these low pass outputs that go out to things like this. So this one, what we would need to do is we would need to get an RCA audio to plug in here, some males to plug in here, and then some males on the other end to plug in here, and we would now have this head unit connected to this via the low pass setting, okay, the low pass way. Now, if you don't have these, and you only have the high pass or the speaker wires, so in other words, I take this right here, I plug this into the back here, and these are the speaker wire outputs going out to speakers. But let's say you don't want them to go to speakers. You want them to go to another booster equalizer. You want it to go to an amplifier or something of that nature. You have to get it into this booster equalizer somehow. Now, of course, again, this is old school, so I do have the high pass way of grabbing onto those speaker wires to hook this thing up. But a lot of stuff today, especially amplifiers, there's quite a few of them that have the low pass way of hooking in. So what this is all about is going over here. You find your positive negative, hook into your positive negative here, and now, ta-da, you now have a low pass type connection. So I could take this, plug it into the back of the radio, hook it up to this, and instead of running these speaker wires over here to the high pass, I now can literally take and plug this into the low pass, just like that. Okay, so now I have low pass connections. Again, I am not an expert. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly why you want to use the low pass. I from my research, the low pass stuff, you want to definitely keep them away from power wires, like amplifier, actual power, like things that are running on 12-volt power, electric motors, window motors, seat motors, those kinds of things. You want to keep them away from that because they are susceptible to being induced with noise, I guess. But I'm also understanding that, and again, this is what I understand, I don't know, but I'm understanding that you always like to use the low pass because it uses less power, number one, to send signals. And I understand, at least this is what I remember back then, when they were telling us, with these old school units that, hey, yeah, you've got the regular high pass inputs, but we are going to start installing these now, the low pass inputs. And they were telling us at the time that this is a cleaner signal. This is something that can give you a much better signal, because it's all, I guess, one set of voltage, so to speak. Whereas, if you put speaker wires on your high pass inputs and you turn the volume up on your head unit, you're actually increasing, the power going into this input. Whereas over here, and again, this is something that I remember them telling us. I don't know if this is all the truth, but I truly believe it's close. That this here has a different way of doing that, and it does it a lot cleaner, and it doesn't create a whole lot of noise per se, like the high pass would. However, again, these are very important to keep away from, again, all these power wires, which is kind of dumb when you think about it, because think about it this way. This baby right here is in this wire loom. It's right next to all that shit. So I don't know how you're going to keep it away at that point, but I guess they're just saying that that's what you need to do. So I'm kind of hoping I'm not going to need to, like hook in, like filters and that kind of noise filters and that kind of stuff. But here's one thing, I never did use these low pass connections. When I had this thing in my pickup years and years ago, I used the high pass, and I do remember, by the way, this thing having a slight buzz in the speakers. But the good news was, and the reason why I got away with it, is because the buzz in the speaker was when, and I know some of you young kids are going to be like, what the hell? Remember cassette tapes? Yeah, you probably don't. But anyway, cassette tapes, when you had it in that function where you were going to play cassette tapes, right? You're not on FM, you're not on AM tuner, etc. You push the tape in, and it starts playing, but it hasn't gotten to the song yet. The buzz would come out of the speaker a little bit. But once the music started playing, the music was so much louder than the buzz, you really couldn't hear it. You couldn't hear that buzz. And again, that was using the high pass input from the back of the head unit that I had at the time, which, honestly, that head unit was probably not, it wasn't Alpine, it wasn't Kicker, it wasn't anything fancy. I think it was called Optimus, actually. I think I got it at Radio Shack, actually, to be honest with you. And I got this on a clearance rack at the audio store. Like, where you went to buy, Alpine and Kicker and Rockford Fosgate and all the expensive brands. We used to have that. We don't have that anymore around here. You got to buy all this stuff online, really, if you want to buy the good shit. And because nobody stocks it here. I mean, Walmart's got a few things, but, they're Jensen and those brands, which I have nothing against them. I'm just saying they're not Rockford, Fosgate, Kicker, Alpine, all those others, right? So my point is that, though, I found this on the clearance table, I remember, at that store. So this Majestic may not be, I guess, a super brand or whatever, but at the time it was from the technology store. It's made in Korea, so I don't know much about what that does for you, but I'm just telling you it still works, and that's where I bought it for clearance, and that was the only reason why. I felt pretty awesome. Like I bought something from the technology store, from the audio store, from the, from the place where like everybody wanted to go buy their stereos from, right? I mean, like you walked in there, you bought a whole stereo setup and shit, and you were spending $500-600 minimum, up to $1,500, where if you went to Radio Shack like I did, you bought those Optima and speakers and blah 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 and all that stuff, and it was pretty decent stuff. Obviously it was made in China, probably early China years, and I built a pretty cool system actually, using Radio Shack stuff, and I think I spent under $250 actually, which was pretty impressive back then, and it sounded pretty good. So that's okay. So this thing has really gone off track of its original intended purpose here, which was the unboxing of the Kicker KISL cable. But if you're still here, I appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you would, please. Rumble, rumble, rumble. And I hope you at least learned something about the old school stuff, and what this whole purpose of this thing is for. I'm going to be using this. I got that 150 watt hideaway 8-inch sub. I'm going to be actually hooking this into, I believe, let's see, I'm going to be plugging this into the input, or the output of my radio. Yeah, I'm going to be plugging this right here into the back of my radio unit, the subwoofer, and then this is going to go down to that unit, and it's going to give it a wire signal down at the unit, because that's the one thing I was surprised about that Kicker hideaway unit, is that it doesn't have low pass connections. It only has high pass connections. So I was actually pretty surprised about that, but they did mention that you could buy this adapter, which I did, so that you could easily take a low pass signal that is on your, these newer units here, and this one here is actually says SW, so that's designated as a subwoofer. Plug that baby in, and then run it down there to the wires, and ta-da, there you go. We now have the subwoofer down there powered by low input or low pass connection. Well, again, thanks again. Appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.